Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss the topic ad hoc hypothesis. So here we are going to introduce about the term ad hoc hypothesis, which in turn serves as a lifeline for those research projects without which would be otherwise rejected. I think you may have not understood it. I am going to clarify it once more. An ad hoc hypothesis is an hypothesis added to the uh, existing hypothesis in case if any other contradictory evidences are found. A minor tweaking or a minor addition may give them a lifeline so that the hypothesis would not be rejected. Moving on, I will further explain about it so that you could easily understand. Moving on, what is hypothesis? A hypothesis is a explanation made on the basis of limited evidence as a starting point for further investigation. When we are starting up a project or a research, uh, we start we starts it on the basis of a hypothesis. If A is found, it can be like this, or if A is found in the gene, it leads to this character expression. Okay, so that is the hypothesis we put forward for starting a project. An ad hoc hypothesis is a hypothesis or additional to means an additional statement to the hypothesis statement that is created to explain away evidence that otherwise refutes or disproves a belief or theory. An evidence that is found contradictory to the hypothesis can be uh, can be uh, can be in a way make the hypothesis rejected. I will explain it once more. Uh, if any type of evidence is found which which negates the hypothesis statement, we can add a small additional statement so that we could escape from the negatives. Okay, the evidences which are found in some cases can negate the hypothesis statement we put forward. So to avoid complete refusal or rejection of our hypothesis statement, we can add an additional statement which is known as ad hoc hypothesis, so that uh, we could make our hypothesis live longer. In a sense, we can say that. Okay, but ad hoc hypotheses are often a products of pseudoscience, or we could say that it cannot be rationally explained. Moving on, Leptin is a scientist in 1975 argued that the charge of ad hocness uh, means the implementality of the ad hocness depends on the whether the entity in question, whether the X, or we can say, is unobservable in principle or just de facto. Okay, where if the principle the if the uh, statement or if the evidence is we put forward is uh, you could say observable or unobservable, it is all related to the ad hoc hypothesis. Here it is trying to explain to us that the X, a substance, we could say, the failure to detect X is less damaging. Okay, but if we possess good independent reasons to presume that X is unobservable, then we could say that uh, there is no theoretical reason for X's unobservability. Okay, here you may find it very confusing to get it. Okay, therefore example is given here. In 19th century, astronomers like Le Verrier, okay, he postulated the existence of an invisible planet named Vulcan, or an invisible asteroid belt for the anomalies in the orbit of Mercury. This was an statement put forward by Le Verrier in 19th century in accordance with the anomalies found in the orbit of Mercury. Okay, this we could say is an ad hoc hypothesis. Okay, but it was later discarded. Why? Because nobody could give a good explanation, okay, why those objects were invisible. If a planet is there, or if an asteroid belt is there, okay, we could observe them using telescopes, but it was very invisible to them. It cannot be seen. So with concrete evidence like that, we could only reject it. Okay. When even putting up a forward ad hoc hypothesis, if there are, okay, uh, belief evidences that prove that it is not there, that ad hoc hypothesis will be eventually discarded or rejected eventually. Okay. This is an example of ad hoc hypothesis in our history of science. We can say a general expression that an ad hoc hypothesis is generally meaning an like this: the rules apply to everyone, but there is an exception. Okay, like in a school, if one boy came without properly dressing up uniform or not getting a tie, okay, and it's accepted, we can say that is an general expression of ad hoc hypothesis. We are putting up an exception with a minor changes, like this is not applicable to them because of that. Like that, we are putting up sentences or hypothesis. Okay, it is what we call as ad hoc hypothesis. Ad hoc is also usable in daily life also. Okay, moving on. Even if an ad hoc hypothesis is put up in a research proposal, how to reject or approve it? Okay, ad hoc hypotheses are used in a very unnecessary manner in many research projects. Okay, to give them a basic support to extend the validity of the research project. But how could we determine whether the ad hoc hypothesis is needed or not? In some cases, ad hoc hypothesis makes the project more refined, but in some cases, it just makes it, okay, it makes the expression or the project more complicated and complicated in a loop. So, which are the questions to ask that we could so that we could approve or reject the ad hoc hypothesis put forward by them? These are the some of the questions. Is the ad hoc falsifiable? What do you mean by falsifiable? It means that if we could completely reject the hypothesis by concrete evidence, okay, we could easily reject the ad hoc hypothesis. If not, we could approve it, like that. Also, next question: are multiple ad hocs employed? When multiple ad hocs employed means, what do you mean by multiple ad hocs? Giving explanation on finding further evidences, that putting up more and more ad hocs so that the project will not be rejected. That is what we meant by multiple ad hocs. When multiple ad hocs are there, we could easily say that there are many evidences to reject the proposal, but they are putting up many explanations or hypotheses so that the project could be sustained longer. So, if there are multiple ad hocs, we could say that the complexity of the project will be higher and many problems are there. Okay. Then next question is, does the ad hocs require consensus? When we are dealing with matters of science, we put up everything in a certified or certain conditions in every research. Okay, we do not leave away all those research results to coincidences. So if we are seeing an ad hoc that is based upon coincidences, we could say that it is irrational in terms of science. In scientific methods, we are only looking out for rational methods that give us concrete solid proof. If the hypothesis is purely upon coincidences, okay, we could say that it is rejected. It can be rejected. Okay, last question: is the only support for ad hoc what made necessary in the first place? Uh, if the ad hoc is only for supporting the or only for extending the lifespan of the project, we could say that. Then we could say just here we are meaning that if the ad hoc is only put up for extending the lifespan of the research project, then we could say that it is not good for the project, and so we could reject the proposal of the project. So these are the main four questions we could ask even if an ad hoc hypothesis in a put up in a research project. Okay, these questions ensure us that the ad hoc whether ad hoc serves as a polishing stone for the proposal or for the project, or simply serves as a basic life support to extend the life period of the research project. So this is a simple topic, but powerful, we could say that. Means we could easily say these are the statements which gives us an exception to in research projects when putting up a hypothesis. So if we look upon basic examples, or just look upon this video once more, okay, if you have any doubts, the examples given can be easily understood. Okay, so in this video we have now discussed about what is hypothesis, its use, example, and how to question whether it can be approved or rejected in research projects. So we could so the common notion that ad hoc hypothesis is what is that it acts both as a pseudo scientific entity, okay, and at the same means giving irrational logic or irrational explanations, but at the same time it helps the project become more refined. In many cases in history of science, that the ad hocs have produced many more refined researches. Also, as we are aspiring scholars, it is our duty to ascertain the need. Okay, we must ascertain whether it is whether it, whether it will help to refine the research or just only serve as a basic life support. Okay, so it is our capability. We must improve our capability, ascertain the need to use ad hoc hypothesis in our projects. Okay, these are the things I want to discuss about in this video. Thank you.